And welcome to Mike Ferry TV. It is the week of May 28th. Wow. I think last week I brought up the fact that we're almost halfway through the year. We're a week closer. I hope you're closer to achieving 50% of your goal at this time. Last week we talked about the 6 basic fundamental skills that every great listing agent has to acquire, sharpen, and use to become a great listing agent. So I wrote down a question. Why are the skills of a listing agent so difficult for most agents to develop? There's probably 100 reasons why we don't develop the skills, of a great listing agent. And I don't know if any of these reasons I'm going to give you really strike anything inside your brain and inside your soul about why you don't list property. But I'll bet that some of these reasons I'm going to give you why we don't develop skills probably come into play. So here's number 1, probably the hardest to accept. We're independent contractors. The IC gets in the way of skill development. I can stand before you and say, learn these 5 skills, and you're going to list 2 to 3 homes a month. And you can look at me and honestly say, I don't want to, I don't have to, you can't make me. And you're right. What a sad state of affairs. Why don't you walk into a seller's home and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I really want your listing badly. And I'm really a great listing agent, but I want to give you a little secret about me. I don't have any skills whatsoever. Would they list with you? Of course not. Well, I think real estate fraud revolves around the fact that we make listing presentations without skills. Why do we not have skills? Because we don't have to learn them. Now, I want you to think about this. Are you really being forced to learn a pre-qualifying script? I don't think so. Are you being forced to learn a good, strong listing presentation script? I don't think so. Are you being forced to learn the answers to objections? I don't think so. So as a result, the very label, rip it off your head, independent contractor, is what gets in the way of learning skills. The second factor that keeps us from learning skills is our ego. You know, Mike, I was the listing agent of the month back in January of this year. Oh, is that right? Congratulations. I listed 2 homes, best in the office. Wow, congratulations. I listed my mother's home and I listed my home. Now, mine was a little overpriced, but what the heck? Well, now watch. Ego, 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 ego. Take the word ego. Cross off the E, what's left? Go. When you're involved in ego, you're worried about yourself and how you're being seen and what you're saying, and is the world watching you? Take the E off, you're outgoing to your next listing presentation. Get rid of the ego and you'll learn the skills. I wrote down next, and it's unfortunate this industry is not teaching these types of skills. They're not teaching pre-qualifying a lead follow-up presentation, handling objections. They're not teaching those kind of skills. We're so busy teaching contract and law and are teaching social media that we forget about the fact that this is a skill-driven business. In this industry, I don't know why they don't want to face the fact. Now, I understand the industry up here says they're all independent contractors. We can't tell them what to do. So let's make it very palatable to them that we teach them things that they're comfortable with. Hey, being comfortable and being productive don't go hand in hand. What makes a person productive is when you're uncomfortable. If we can get you really uncomfortable, you can be really productive. I believe the industry is afraid to teach the skills. I remember sitting many, many years ago with who I think happens to be one of the better speaker, trainer, coaches in the industry, besides myself, thank you, ego, Floyd Wickman, who a lot of you know. And Floyd and I talked about the fact that technically he and I should never have had these long, in most cases, great careers we've had working with all of you. It shouldn't exist. Well, why shouldn't it exist? Because if the industry was teaching what they're supposed to be teaching, there'd be no need for people like myself. As long as the industry is afraid to teach you how to sell real estate as a salesperson, I'm in business. I was sitting with the chairman of a major real estate franchise. This man unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. He was a true leader in the industry. And I remember we're sitting in his office the day he's retiring. And I've known him since I was 18. And he looked at me, and he was a big, physical, imposing man. And he said, Mike, I need to ask you a question. I said, fire away. How do you make all the money you make doing the work you do? Are you really retiring today? He said, Mike, right after this little luncheon meeting, I'm done. I've put in my time with this great company. I said, okay, let me tell you how I make the money that I make. I provide for all of your people in your company all the services they pay you for that you never deliver. He looked at me, took a big puff on a cigarette, took a little sip of his brandy and said, well, you're a genius. I said, no, I'm just a service provider. The industry will not teach you the skills. Find the people that can teach you the skills. I wrote down fourth. Love this. Why do we not learn the skills? Because we're always looking for a way to get rich without working. It's an illusion. And I'm convinced that most of my clients, most of my competitors are illusionists. They're the David Copperfields of real estate. If you see David Copperfield in Las Vegas, it's a great show. We've seen it several times. But it's magic. It's not real. He doesn't really have a car fly up in the air and drive off the stage in midair. It's an illusion. Well, now watch. If you're looking for a magic formula, you're looking for an illusion. How about learning the skills? I wrote down next. Our lack of experience keeps us from learning skills. Can you imagine if we as an industry actually started hiring people that have sales experience to come into real estate? I mean, can you imagine what would happen to our industry? Productivity would go through the roof. See, I believe right now the housing shortage, meaning inventory shortage we experience today, is caused by many factors. The biggest factor is we are not out in conversations with people about listing property. We are the problem within the industry because we're not out talking to people, prospecting to get listings every single day. And why? Because we don't have any experience. I mean, let's face it. Do you really need any experience to take an exam to get a real estate license? I think zero would be the answer. Okay? I wrote down the next reason we don't learn the skills. We're not willing to develop the discipline required to make it happen. We are in a discipline-oriented industry. Why? Because we're independent contractors. And then I wrote down last, we don't learn the skills because we keep fighting changing our behavior. Folks, if we're not willing to change our behavior, what kind of a battle can we possibly win? If we've always been taught to go this way, but the opponents are coming from this side and we can't change our behavior and go out this way, we lose the game. Watch. When the words, "this is how I've always done it," come into play, then we know that we're talking to a person that is not willing to change their behavior. Find out what is the real reason you're not willing to learn the skills. You find out the real reason you're not willing to learn the skills, and good things will happen to you. 25, 50, 75, 100 listings a year. Folks, it is in your future. It's within sight if you develop the skills and learn the skills and put them to use. All right, it's almost the 1st of June. 6 weeks away from the Superstar Retreat. All the material is prepared. I can't wait to present it to you. I hope you're there. If you're going to go, call the office, get registered. If not, talk to you next Monday. Thanks for today.